We'd like to ask everyone who wants to participate in the meeting to come on in, find a seat. There's some empty seats here. I see some empty seats there. You'll probably be more comfortable if you're sitting down. On behalf of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, you probably want to quiet down so you have an opportunity to hear what we have to say. We're gonna use some abbreviations tonight, and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is abbreviated FERC. It's typically called the FERC or the Commission, and our federal cooperating agency partners and I would like to welcome you to this public meeting to take comments on the draft environmental impact statement, or DEIS, issued by the FERC on February 7, 2014 for the Jordan Cove Liquefaction and Pacific Connector Pipeline projects, which I'll call from now on just the project. My name is Paul Friedman, and I'm the FERC Environmental Project Manager for this project. And up here with me tonight is Steve Bush. Steve is the Assistant Project Manager at FERC. Miriam Libator is the BLM Project Manager out of Medford District. Wes Yamamoto is the Forest Service Project Manager. He's out of the Tiller Ranger District. And I see Don Owens, his boss, the District Ranger, here tonight. Thanks for coming, Don. Mark Beckwitz is a National Program Manager for the BLM. He's somewhere in this room. I talked to him earlier. There he is. And in the far back, we have John Scott and John Crookston. I just call them the Johns. And they work for Tetra Tech, who is our third-party contractor, and they helped us produce the DEIS. And we also have the third-party contractor for the Forest Service and the BLM, North State Resources. They're represented by Paul Ungerfer. Paul, you wave. Let the record show that this meeting began at approximately 6 p.m. on Wednesday, December 10th, at the Seven Feathers Hotel in Canyonville, Oregon. As you can see, right there, this meeting is being recorded and transcribed by our court reporter on behalf of the FERC, so there will be accurate notes on tonight's proceedings. The court reporter is an employee of ACE Federal Reporters, Inc., an independent contractor. ACE will sell copies of this transcript at various sliding scale prices beginning from same day to 5 business days after this meeting. If you'd like a copy of the transcript prior to its being posted on the FERC website, you can make arrangements directly with ACE. If you'd like to speak tonight, please sign the speakers list, which is the Johns are keeping at the back of the room. We will call people up to speak one at a time in the order they write their name on the list. The only thing I remind you is that you print your name legibly so that I can read it, and even then I still have trouble pronouncing people's names. The production of the DEIS was a collaborative effort involving a number of federal cooperating agencies, including the BLM, Forest Service, Corps of Engineers, Department of Energy, EPA, Coast Guard, Fish and Wildlife Service, Bureau of Reclamation, and the Department of Transportation. The cooperating agencies had an opportunity to review an administrative draft, and some agencies contributed text to the DEIS. For example, the BLM and the Forest Service and their third-party contractor wrote sections of the DEIS related to their evaluation of proposed amendments to their individual district and national forest land management plans to make provision for the pipeline. In a few minutes, the representative from the BLM and the Forest Service will explain what those agencies are doing with regard to this project. The FERC is an independent regulatory agency. One of the industries we regulate is the interstate transportation of natural gas. Originally, we were called the Federal Power Commission when we were created by Congress in 1920. Later, under the Carter administration, we were reorganized and renamed. We are, our leaders are 5 people. We call them the commissioners. They sit on the 11th floor of my building. And they are the decision makers for the commission. And those commissioners are appointed by the President of the United States and confirmed by Congress. Usually there are 3 in the party in power, so there's 3 Democrats, and 2 in the opposing party, so there's 2 Republicans. They typically serve 5-year terms. Steve and I are mere civil servants. The commissioners take recommendations from staff prior to making decisions, and our recommendations for this project can be found in section 5.2 of the DEIS. In accordance with the Energy Policy Act of 2005 and the Natural Gas Act, the FERC is the lead federal agency responsible for authorizing onshore liquefied natural gas, another acronym LNG, terminals, and interstate natural gas transmission facilities. We are also the lead agency for compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, another abbreviation, NEPA. Our DEIS was prepared to satisfy the Council on Environmental Affairs regulations for implementing the NEPA. The federal and cooperating agencies can adopt the EIS for their regulatory needs to comply with the NEPA. However, each agency would make their own independent conclusions in their respective records of decision. The Commission will make its record of decision in what we call a commission order. There has been no commission order issued for this project. Therefore, no decision by the FERC has been made at this time. The commissioners will not even consider making a decision until after we issue a final environmental impact statement, and that is several months off. In May 21, 2013, Jordan Cove Energy Project LP, we just abbreviate them as Jordan Cove, filed an application with the FERC under Section 3 of the NGA in docket number CP 13-483-000, seeking authority to construct and operate an LNG export terminal at Coos Bay. Jordan Cove intends to produce about 6 million metric tons per year of LNG from a supply of about 1 billion cubic feet per day of natural gas. They're going to put that LNG, LNG by the way is natural gas frozen to about minus 260 degrees Fahrenheit. When that happens, it reduces its volumes by about 600%, takes a vapor, turns it into a liquid. They put the liquid on big ships that travel across oceans. They're going to export the LNG to either free trade agreement nations or non-free trade agreements nations, and they have permission to do that issued by the Department of Energy. The main facilities would be part of the Jordan Cove complex, include a 420 megawatt power plant, a natural gas processing plant, 4 liquefaction trains, 2 LNG storage tanks, a transfer pipeline and loading platform, a marine slip with docks for LNG vessels and tugboats, and an access channel connecting the existing Coos Bay navigation channel. Pacific Connector Gas Pipeline LP, or Pacific Connector for short, filed its application with the FERC in docket number CP 13-492-000 under Section 7 of the NGA on June 6, 2013. Pacific Connector seeks authority to construct and operate a 232-mile-long, 36-inch diameter, underground, welded steel transmission pipeline between the mainland hub and the Jordan Cove terminal. The pipeline route would cross portions of Klamath, Jackson, Douglas, and Coos County, Oregon. Near Malin, Pacific Connector would connect with the existing pipeline systems of Gas Transmission Northwest, which is called GTN for short, and Ruby Pipeline, which is called Ruby for short, to obtain natural gas from sources in Western Canada and the Rocky Mountains. For full disclosure, Ruby is partly owned by one of the partners in both Pacific Connector and Jordan Cove. GTN is owned by a company called TransCanada. The Pacific Connector pipeline would have a design capacity of about 1.07 BCF a day, with 0.04 BCF dedicated to delivery at the existing Northwest Pipeline Grants Pass lateral to serve customers in Southern Oregon. Again, a clarification, Northwest is owned by one of the partners of Pacific Connector. Other facilities associated with the Pacific Connector project include a 41,000 horsepower compressor station near Malin, touristy meter stations within the compressor station tract, a delivery meter station at Clark's Ranch for the interconnection with Northwest, a delivery meter station at Jordan Cove, 5 pig launchers and receivers, 17 main block valves, and 11 communication towers. Jordan Cove would receive its supply of natural gas from the Pacific Connector pipeline. Therefore, although there are 2 separate applications with the FERC by 2 separate companies, we are considering them connected actions, and we are evaluating the environmental impacts of both the LNG terminal and the pipeline together in one comprehensive DEIS. The 2 companies also share some ownership overlap, and that's as disclosed both in their applications and in the DEIS. I want to make it very clear that the project is being proposed by 2 private companies. The FERC is not involved in either the design of the facilities or their location. The companies came up with their project design and the location for their facilities, and the FERC's job as a regulator is to then analyze the environmental impacts of the construction and operation of those facilities. The FERC is not an advocate for the project. We are advocates for the environmental review process. The commissioners will make their own independent decision about whether or not this project has benefits and would be in the public interest. And again, I'm going to reiterate, the commissioners have not yet anyone know what their decision will be. During our review of the project, we assembled information from a variety of sources. This includes the applications from the companies and data responses to our questions, public input, data provided by other federal, state, and local resource agencies, and our own independent research. Our analysis can be found in the DEIS. We sent copies of the DEIS to our environmental aid mailing list, which includes elected officials, federal, state, and local agencies, regional environmental groups, and non-governmental organizations, affected landowners, Indian tribes, commenters and other interested parties, local newspapers and libraries, and parties to the proceedings. Paper copies of the DEIS were only sent to those people who requested hard copies in response to our notice of intent. All others received a compact disc or CD version. We no longer have any paper copies available because we only printed enough for the people who requested them. We do have extra copies of the CD if you want those. Everyone who received a copy of the DEIS will also be sent a copy of the FEIS. You do not have to sign up a second time. However, if you did not receive a copy of the DEIS and you want to get a copy of the FEIS, please go to the back of the room where my Tetra Tech team is waiting with an environmental mailing list. You can also use that list to request a hard copy of the FEIS if you only got a CD of the DEIS. About 72 miles of the Pacific Connector pipeline route would cross federal lands, including 40 miles of BLM land, 30 miles of Forest Service land, and less than a mile of reclamation land. At this point, I'd like the representative for the Forest Service and the BLM, Miriam, to explain those agencies' actions.
Thank you, Paul. And thank all of you for being here tonight. We're looking forward to hearing from you, and we value your input. My name, as Paul said, my name is Miriam Liberator. I'm with the BLM, and I work at the Medford District. I'm the BLM's project manager for the Pacific Connector Pipeline Project. The BLM and the Forest Service have a role in this project insofar as the project crosses public lands. It crosses lands managed by the BLM and Forest Service and Reclamation, but it's the BLM and the Forest Service that have decisions to make on this project. And those decisions have to do with the right-of-way to cross public lands and some proposals to amend our land management plans. I'm going to talk a little bit about both of those. So as the project is now proposed, it crosses over 70-some miles of land, as Paul described, and Pacific Connector would need a grant, a right-of-way grant, to cross those lands and occupy them with the pipeline. It's the same as when anybody else needs to cross public lands for any reason. Many of you might have a driveway that accesses your property, and BLM may have granted you a right-of-way or an easement to do that. So they have applied for a right-of-way grant with the BLM, and the BLM Under the Mineral Leasing Act of 1920 is the agency that has the authority to grant or deny the right-of-way. We have not made a decision yet about the right-of-way grant. We don't have the information we need to do it, and we won't make a decision until after we have seen the FEIS and other conditions that we need to make our decision have been met. The Forest Service and Reclamation have a role in the grant in that they give us their concurrence with our decision. Let's see, the pipelines, that's the right-of-way grant. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the amendments. If the pipeline is built, then it would not conform with the current land management plans for the BLM and Forest Service in the areas where it would cross. And the BLM can't consider a right-of-way grant for projects that don't conform with those plans. So in order to cross, the plans need to be amended to make provision for the project so that they can conform. So the BLM and Forest Service both have policies that allow us to do that. And we have proposed 20 amendments in the draft EIS that will allow the project to conform. 4 of those amendments are for BLM plans, 15 of them are for Forest Service plans, and 1 of them is a joint amendment for both agencies. The areas that are affected would be the Coos Bay District of the BLM, the Roseburg District, the Medford District, and the Lakeview District in its Klamath Falls resource area. And for the National Forest, the forests affected are the Umpqua, the Red River, and the Waimea. The amendments address issues having to do with our survey and manage guidelines, habitat retention for the northern spotted owl and for the marbled murrelet, and other environmental conditions having to do with soils, visual quality objectives, riparian areas, and a proposal to convert some of our matrix lands, which are where we have our timber base, into late successional reserves to make up for the impact to late successional reserves by the footprint of the pipeline where it crosses through those areas. Those decisions that we need to make require us to follow the NEPA process. And as cooperating agencies on this project, we will accept FERC's final EIS. But we'll make our own decisions, and as Paul said earlier, our decisions will be independent of FERC's and we'll have our own records of decision. That said, to comment on this, if you comment tonight on our proposals, your comments will go in the record and we'll respond to them. But if you want to comment after tonight or in writing or supplement your comments tonight, then please use the process that Paul will describe to you in a few minutes. It's the only way we can receive your comments and address them, and we will address all of them. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Miriam. One of the things I wanted to point out, people have commented about what a large document, the hard copy of the EIS has. In fact, even in CD, it runs like 5,000 pages. And the reason it's so big is because it's actually 3 EISs in one. One EIS analyzes the Forest Service and BLM and Reclamation plan amendments. Another part of the EIS analyzes the effects of the Jordan Cove terminal, and of course the last portion of the EIS analyzes the effects of the Pacific Connector pipeline. So it's like 3 documents in one, which is why it's so big and unwieldy. We are beginning a 90-day period for taking comments on the DEIS. Comments can be filed with the Commission up until February 13th, 2015. The FERC keeps the consolidated record for all of these proceedings, so please do not send your comments to the BLM or the Forest Service. Also, there's an organization out there giving the public wrong information. They're telling members of the public to email me. Please do not email me. Emails are not considered by the Commission. The only way to have your comments considered is to put them in the FERC public record, which we call e-library. I'll mention that in a few minutes. Only comments placed in the FERC public record on e-library will be considered by the Commission staff. As explained in our Notice of Availability issued on February 7, 2014, there are several ways to provide the FERC with your comments on the DEIS. First, you can use the e-comment feature on the FERC webpage, which can be found at www.ferc.gov. Second, you can use the e-filing feature on the FERC web page. Third, you can write a letter to the Secretary of the Commission at 888 First Street Northeast, Washington, D.C. 20426. Remember to always mark your comments with the docket number CP 13-483-000 for Jordan Cove and CP 13-492-000 for Pacific Connector. Lastly, you can give oral comments tonight, be recorded by the court reporter, and these transcripts will eventually find its way into e-library. All comments received, whether written or oral, will be given equal treatment by the FERC staff and will be addressed in our final EIS. It does not matter if your comments were submitted the first day the EIS was issued on February 7th or on the last day of receiving comments on February 13th, 2015. While the purpose of tonight's meeting is to take verbal comments on the DEIS, given the limited time each presenter will have at this forum, I urge you to send more detailed comments into the FERC either electronically or in writing. The more specific your comments, the better we can address your concerns. Comments such as, I am in favor of the project or I'm against the project are not particularly helpful. It's not an election and it's not a popularity contest. Instead, please try to focus on the environmental issues raised in the DEIS. We call it a draft because we know it's not perfect. So when you have comments that are constructive, we can make those corrections in the FEIS. After the comment period ends on February 13, 2015, the FERC staff and our third-party contractor, together with the federal cooperating agencies, will review the comments and address them in the FEIS. The FERC will issue a new notice of schedule in the near future that will present a new date for the issuance of the FEIS and a 90-day period for other cooperating agencies. No decision about approving this project has been made at this time. The EIS is not a decision document. Only after the commissioners consider the findings in the EIS, together with non-environmental issues such as markets and rates and tariffs, would the commissioners make their decision about whether or not to authorize the project. If the commission authorizes the project in an order, only parties to the proceeding, known as interveners, may legally question that decision. The FERC requirements for filing a motion to intervene can be found under Title 18, Code of Federal Regulations, Part 385.124. While the period for filing a motion to intervene has passed, the Commission will consider requests for late intervention with good cause. Typically, affected landowners and those with legitimate environmental concerns who cannot be represented by another are considered to have good cause for late intervention. However, simply filing comments will not give you intervener status. But you do not need to be an intervener to have your environmental comments considered. An intervener may seek rehearing of a commission order. If the commission authorizes the project, construction may not begin until after Jordan Cove and Pacific Connector obtain all other necessary federal permits and approvals. At a minimum, this includes biological opinions of the Fish and Wildlife Service and National Marine Fisheries Service under the Endangered Species Act. A right-of-way grant for the pipeline issued by the BLM under the Minerals Leasing Act with concurrence from the Forest Service and Reclamation. Permits under Section 10 of the Rivers and Harbors Act and Section 404 of the Clean Water Act issued by the Corps of Engineers. Water quality certification under Section 401 of the Clean Water Act issued by the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. Permits under the Clean Air Act also issued by the ODEQ. And lastly, a finding from the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development that the project would be consistent with the Coastal Zone Management Act. In addition, the Energy Facilities Siting Council of the Oregon Department of Energy must make an independent decision about whether or not to authorize the South Dune Power Plant, which is associated with the Jordan Cove Terminal. Jordan Cove and Pacific Connector must document that all pre-construction conditions in the FERC's order have been met before we would allow construction to begin. Construction activities would be monitored by the FERC staff and the federal land managing agencies. Now is the part of this meeting that you've all been waiting for, where you, the public, get an opportunity to speak. I remind you that the purpose of this meeting is to hear public comments on our DEIS. In general, I will not be responding to your comments tonight unless you ask an administrative question that I happen to know the answer to. Otherwise, I'll just be listening. We will address your comments in the final EIS after we do the appropriate research. So here are some ground rules for this meeting. After I call your name, please come up to the microphone over there in the first row and speak into the microphone. Clearly identify yourself and spell your name for the court reporter. If you represent an organization, state the name of that organization. If you are a landowner along the pipeline, provide us with the approximate outpost of your property or an address or cross streets. If you have a written summary of your comments, please give that to the Tetra Tech team in the back of the room, and we'll make certain it gets into the public record. My number one rule, please show respect to all speakers, whether you agree with them or not. I ask you not to cheer, and of course, do not boo. Lastly, because of the large number of speakers we have here tonight, we're going to limit each individual speaker to just 3 minutes. Steve has, at 2.5 minutes, Steve will show you a yellow piece of paper. At 3 minutes, you'll see red, and at that point, I'm going to ask you to stop talking so that someone else can speak next. With that, we're going to start with the first person who signed up, George Logan. He's going to help you, George.
Hello? Hello? First, I want to thank everybody for coming down here tonight, and I see a lot of familiar faces. Appreciate all of that. My name is George Logan, and that's Georgelogan, and I'm representing Local 29 Ironworkers Union, all of Oregon and southern Washington State. I'm also a Vietnam vet, and stand up for everyone for this country, and wish the best to everyone. I'm here to represent ironworkers to have this job and have the best talent they can have to do this job. I give job fairs, and I've also taught at the apprenticeship, so you get the best bang for your buck whenever you're there. And anyway, that's about it for me. I don't need 3 minutes to say thank you, and it'll make a whole lot of money for everybody and get the community to work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I'm going to call George to line up, okay? So next is Dennis Copeland. After Dennis is Richard Townsend, then Gil Friedland, and then Aaron Parker. And just line up in the middle, one behind the other, so that we can move along quickly.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Copeland, DENNISCOPLIN. I'm the Director of Political and Legislative Affairs for UA 290, Plumbers and Steam Fitters. I work on bringing projects in, working on projects like this. I'm a certified instructor. I teach our apprentices, our journeymen. And with that being said, there are a lot of people in this area that need work, and they just can't find it. We have members in our union that have to travel to Portland and other places within our jurisdiction just to be able to find work. This job will provide viable training for those that have no training in the industry, to bring them up to a standard. Somebody had mentioned that, why don't we just hire people and put them out there to build these projects? The last thing you want is somebody that's unskilled and does not know what they're doing building this project, because that's where you have problems. We had an experience where uneducated, untrained workforce tried to put a pipeline in once before, and it was a disaster. We ended up having to come back in and fix it and bring it up to the standards and make sure it was safe. We have the best trained people in the building trades. That includes the operating engineers, the carpenters, and many other trades that we can think of. These people go from anywhere from 3 to 5 years of training to learn their craft. And even at that, they're not turned loose on their own to go out and build these projects. These people have supervision, that are trained, and we put it in at the highest quality, the safest way, and as environmentally safe as humanly known. Now, can we do better? We will always do the best job we can, but we build it to the highest technology and to the best safety standards known to man. That's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Richard Townsend, RICHARD, pipe fitter, local 290. I want to yield my time to Dennis.
Excuse me, Dennis Copeland again. On a different subject, somebody brought up on yesterday night's meeting regarding the safety on pipeline. Pipeline is the highest safety standard ever known to man as far as the means of moving a mass quantity of either a petroleum product, a gas, or chemical. It is the safest way of doing it. People talk about terrorists attacking it, things like this. They're going to first have to dig it up. And they're worried about people going out there and digging it up. Everybody knows that by law, you're required to dial 811 and ask permission, even on your own property, to dig a hole. So going out and digging up these pipelines, if you're doing it, you have other problems. But we need people to understand this is a safe means of transportation of a product. It is going to be run through property. And I would like to say, when you end up running this through your property, we will build it safely, we will build it clean, we will work with you, and many times the property is in better condition after we left than it was before we got there. We work with you. Now, eminent domain, yes, it is an issue. No public project, no man in the United States would be built without some form of an eminent domain. Some properties are owned by more than 50 people. Trying to get 50 people all agree to one thing, it's pretty hard to do. But when it's done, we ask that for the owners of these projects to work with the owner to make an equitable and fair negotiated deal with those property owners. We want to see them prosper. We don't want to see them suffer. But a fact is fact. Some form of eminent domain will be used on this pipeline somewhere along. It just is a fact. You wouldn't have any roads. You wouldn't have any railroads. You wouldn't have any bridges. You wouldn't have any infrastructure in the United States without some form of eminent domain. Thank you.
My name is Gil Freeland, Gilfreeland. I'm a 33 member of Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 290. I'd like to talk a little bit about our safety as well and the things we do in our schools. We have 5 different training schools throughout our jurisdiction in the state of Oregon. We train our people to the highest standards in the United States. I would like to say a few things about pipelines. Pipelines in the state of Oregon alone transfer about 20,000 miles of natural gas, oil, jet fuel, and very, very safely. And without all of these pipelines, our state would grind to a halt. We need to have this type of thing to grow and to keep our state economy on the mend and on the upswing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Read a bunch of names here. Aaron Parker's next, then Art Katie, Carter Rose, and Ricky Iboa.
Hello, my name is Aaron Parker, AARONPARKER. I'm a third-term steamfitter apprentice, local 290, out of Tualatin, Oregon. Just wanted to say thank you for everyone coming, and I'm very lucky to be part of this trade. It is my livelihood. I plan on I have goals. I want to have a family. I feel like this pipeline is something I can be proud of, and I can show my family in my future, I did this. It'll be a really cool feeling. Sorry, a little bit nervous. Thank you all for your time.
Thanks for your comment.
Hi, my name is Art Cady, C-A-D-Y, first name Art, A-R-T. I represent Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 290 in support of Jordan Koga and the pipeline projects. I'd like to address some fears and misconceptions regarding construction and inspection. Codes for pipeline, power piping, and process piping are very explicit. They're very strict instead of very high standard, but a minimum standard. Union work always exceeds the minimum standards, which are already very high. To those of you that are concerned about wells, I heard a speaker last night say they put less weld in the less populated areas. That's not true. It's absolutely not true. It's not possible. Wells are 100% inspected. Pipeline wells are 100% radiographed. A flaw on a pipeline as small as an arc strike on the pipe is a cutout. They remove the section of pipe and replace it with new. That is a fact. And please be assured that we have the highest quality craftsmen in the world. I've been a UA craftsman for 40 years. I've been a weld inspector for a little over 12 years. I've worked in Europe, I've worked in South America, I've worked in Australia. I've never seen finer welders and finer craftsmen than we have right here. I can guarantee you, I'd like to put your fears to rest, that if this project goes through, and I hope it does, that it will be exceeding the codes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Conway.
I'd like to address generally the regulatory process. I'm aware that most of the projects that come before FERC are approved, over 90%. I may be wrong on that, but I was just given information by people that I would imagine know. There's a very famous book written in the published in the 1930s by Walter Cannon called The Wisdom of the Body. And in that book, he being a noted physiologist at Harvard University, talks about the extremely complex regulatory processes that go on within each of our bodies to make it possible for us to do any part that we're doing right now, listening to one another and speaking to one another. And then Warren Isley in The Invisible Pyramid, published around 1970, reminds us that no such eloquent and complex regulatory system exists socially. But here we are. We are trying to do it, and we do. And I'm trying to give you information about feedback information in a regulatory system. I have professional background in what I'm talking about as an electrical engineer. I work as an electrical engineer, very concerned about stability of systems. The pipeline is a linear thing. It is being fed by the fracking processes. And there are a lot of legally trained people that are backing away from the legal wrangling that is going on around fracking. And then Gary Snyder, the poet, reminds us several decades ago that it is unethical, especially from a scientific and ecological point of view, to be transferring water from one watershed to another. And I would add to that as a corollary that it is unethical to be transporting energy out of where it's extracted from into other places where it's needed. Now, you may disagree deeply with that, and yes, it would require a lot of lifestyle changes, but it certainly would be abiding by the life rules that the earth itself as a living organism lives by. I also want to say that there is a last chapter, I believe 15, in The Power Elite, a book by C. Wright Mills. And
Mr. Rose, I asked if you wrap up now,
yes.
And you may send for detailed written comments.
Yeah.
So thank you for your comments.
No, I will wrap up. Please give me a opportunity to wrap up. In that chapter, The Higher Immorality, C. Wright Mills details the problems with higher corporate leadership and government leadership to do the right thing morally and value-wise.
Thank you for your comments. Ricky Igoa, Chris Reach, Jay Hamlin, and Wade Merrick, and please line up in behind the microphone so that we can go quickly. And I would like to urge everyone to please stick to the 3-minute rule so that we all get equal treatment. And if you have long, complex comments, please send them to the first, either by electronically or in writing.
My name is Ricky Iboa, I-B-O-A, and I'm the representative for Local 701 Operating Engineers. Pacific Connector Pipeline will employ an average of 840 people for 2 years, with a peak of 1,400. The workforce that will build this line are the same people that build your roadworks, your sewer lines, public buildings, and schools. I've heard at all the meetings that this week the safety is a big concern. We're professionals, enough to build your schools and that we send our kids to, but for some reason we are not good enough to build gas lines. All of a sudden, we are a dangerous workforce. Every day, natural gas lines, natural gas, oil, gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel are transported through more than 20,000 miles of existing pipeline across the state of Oregon. Without this network building, our members and economy will be in big trouble. This facility is proven and safe. This terminal pays way for an average of $25 million per year in taxes in Coos County. At the pipeline, we pay an average of $3 million per year in taxes in Coos, Douglas, Jackson, and Clinton counties. That is a tremendous amount of money for those counties that have seen the revenue from the timber fall off. This is money that will help provide better schools and more sheriff deputies. At nearly $8 billion, the Jordan Cove and Pacific Connector will be the single largest private investment in the history of Oregon. As such, this project will create thousands of well-paying new construction jobs with great benefits. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Chris Rush.
I wasn't quite sure. Good evening. I'm Chris Rush, C-H-R-I-S, R-U-S-C-H. I'm here representing South Umpqua Rural Community Partnership. We are an organization dedicated to the restoration of the Upper South Umpqua and the salmon, the forests and the salmon. So we are not in favor of authorizing the Pacific Connector gas pipeline for the following reasons. It does not comply with the intent of the Northwest Forest Plan to protect our natural resources. It does not comply with the Clean Water Act as it will exceed sediment loads and water temperature allowances. The EIS does not adequately address safety issues. There is evidence that rural areas have weaker pipeline safety standards, i.e. fewer wells are inspected, fewer materials are allowed, and no inherent inspections are required on the pipeline once it is in the ground. Emergency services response time may not be adequate to protect rural residences. This pipeline will take people's land against their will and will not give fair compensation. A for-profit pipeline built for resource export is not a national priority for energy security and must not be built using eminent domain for property acquisition. This violates the basic requirements of eminent domain. The issue of temporary extra work areas must be addressed with specific areas and land type identified. The EIS should state how many extra acres will need to be clear-cut for staging and work areas. We believe mitigations are inadequate. There is no backup plan for failed reforestation efforts, long-term noxious weed management, or management for riparian buffers. Mitigations are inadequate for rare plant and animal species, especially those protected under the survey and manage requirements of the Northwest Forest Plan. The EIS does not discuss how the pipeline would influence the spread of wildfire. The application should consider the increased fire suppression costs and and delays in fire suppression, waiting for experts to arrive on the scene to give advice. The emergency response plan and the EIS is not adequate. Lastly, the EIS does not address Oregon statewide land use goals requiring conservation of the carrying capacity of our air and water. Thank you.
Next is Jenny Hamlin, Wade Mark, Naomi Johnson, and Lenny Ellis.
My name is Jay Hamlin, H-A-M-L-I-N. I work for the operating engineer 701 as a field representative. But in 2010, I was on the Ruby line, and I just wanted to tell everybody what I saw and what I was on the video. I just wanted to touch on the maintenance entirety of the pipeline. On the Ruby line, a major portion of the line was 540 wall, which is just over a ½ inch thick. Then, when it comes to roadways, the thickness jumps up to 800 wall, which is just over a ¾ inch thick. As far as maintenance on the line, they send pigs through. And pigs there's a computerized plug that goes through, and it tells how thick the pipe is, how the coating is on the outside of it, what rocks are sitting on the outside, how far the rocks are from the outside of the pipe. It can tell you what metal is outside the pipe and what kind of metal it is. So as far as maintenance after the pipe is in the ground, they can tell you what's going on inside the ground right outside the dish. And as far as Williams stating they're going to bring in all of their hands to work, Rockford tried to do the same thing with the Ruby. They tried bringing in all their own operators, and we stood up and said there's absolutely no way under our agreement. You can't bring in all of your workforce from outside the state. The majority of the work was done by operating engineers. Thank you.
Wade Myrick, W-A-D-E-M-E-Y-R-I-C-K. And I'm a member of 290 and a multi-generational Oregonian. My great-grandmother's grandmother was born on this side of the trail in Oregon City. I love my state. It's beautiful, and a lot of the things we hear are people being afraid. And that's all right. One of my anthropology professors said it's whose ox is being gored. You know, if it's my ox, if it's your ox, brother, I'm sorry, that must be rough. But it's my ox, Jesus Christ, my ox is being gored. And a lot of you guys have eminent domain questions about your property, issues about safety, the facility in Coos Bay. And I would just say that, I'm an instructor. I teach a lot of these kids. And I was back in Michigan with all kinds of other tradesmen, building tradespeople from all over the country. And we're union tradesmen, and we push ourselves to always be the best. And all the codes for the ditches that pipe's going to lie in, the coating on that ditch, the strength of it, the weld, everything. We do our best. That's why we have codes. We say it's called regulation. A lot of people in our country, damn regulation. Well, regulations are good. Regulations that try to mitigate disasters and make things safe. So, from a safety perspective, as an Oregonian, I'm happy for the jobs and I'm happy with the safety issues. We do our best. If it's built by us union hands here in 290 and these other brothers, it'll be done right. If it's built by some fly-by-nighters, well then you guys, I hope you guys bitch about that and insist it's not. If it comes to eminent domain issues, every single pipeline that's ever been built had people just like you that were concerned about their property and the issues there. And I'm on your side. I want you to get the most money you possibly can and the best guarantees for safety and everything that you can. People said, get this stuff built by local people. 290 is a local union. These other locals are local unions. These are kids from all over the state. We have 5 apprentice training centers all over the state. When we do Coos Bay, we'll open that one back up. We have one there too. And we'd love to get a bunch of your kids into this trade. My degrees are in anthropology and history, and I'm happy to be a union brother. This is something I can do, feel proud about, be part of the community. It's called, I'm a rainbow warrior of living life. I love you guys, do my best, and I don't have a problem with this. I understand some of you do, but the safety is being dealt with, and get the best deal that you can when you strike for your land. And, let's get on together. This is Oregon. We're all in this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Next we have Naomi Johnson, then Lenny Ellis, then Lou Christian, and Mark Sundstrom.
Do you have someone else before me? I'm Lenny Ellis.
Yeah, Naomi.
Hello, my name is Naomi Johnson. I would like to thank the Federal Energy Regulation Committee and its esteemed panel members for their due diligence and their patience during the public comment period, as well as the Seven Feathers Casino for this forum. I would like the record to reflect. I asked if there would not be an extension granted for public comment period and the February 13, 2015 deadline stay, because it's been 7 years since this process began. I ask that you authorize the construction and operation of the Jordan Cove LNG plant and the Pacific Connector pipeline. I am a proud union member of the Laborers Local 121, a daughter of a veteran, as well as a daughter of a retired Local 3 operating engineer. It is in the public's interest to construct and operate the Jordan Cove LNG plant and the Pacific Connector pipeline. As a union laborer, I am extensively trained, certified, and qualified in numerous pipeline construction activities. Permanent employment at the Jordan Cove terminal and the Pacific Connector pipeline will include 146 direct jobs, 54 indirect jobs paid by Jordan Cove, which includes the Sheriff's Department fire duties, firefighters, tugboat crews, and emergency planners, 404 other indirect jobs, and 182 induced jobs, for a total of over 700 and total family wage jobs in Southwest Oregon. It's our turn, it's our time. Boost the state of Oregon's economy and strengthen the job sector in Southwest Oregon. Approve the Jordan Cove LNG plant and the Pacific Connector pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Lenny Ellis, and after Lenny we have Lou Christian, Mark Sundstrom, and then Al Shropshire.
My name is Lenny Ellis, Lennieellis. I'm the business manager of IBEW Local 659. Our jurisdiction is Southern Oregon, and every one of the counties that you listed is encompassed in our jurisdiction. We represent about 2,000, a little over 2,000 members, probably around 3,000 lives there. And we have been talking about this project for over 2 years, and all of our members are in full support of the project moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Lou Christian.
Thank you. My name is Lou Christian. L-O-U-C, last name is Christian, C-H-R-I-S-T-I-A-N. I'd like to thank the members of the committee panel here tonight for listening to all of the concerns that are expressed by both people for and against. And I want to make sure that the process, even though we will benefit as plumbers and steam fitters, which are a member of that local union, and Local 290. And we do benefit directly with jobs that are created. And we also are members of the community. We have many members that will be affected. This will run through their property, and we want to make sure that they get treated fairly and that all of the people on the jurisdiction, on the routes of the pipeline, do get fair settlements and their property is treated well. We've seen what's happened in the past when poor quality and poor construction techniques were used by a company out of the area that was unfamiliar with our situation here and performed very poorly on the 12-inch pipeline to Coos Bay. I just want to assure the people who are going to have this pipeline ran, if it is approved, that just like our other brothers have said, this is going to be done to the highest and safest standards. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next is Mark Sundstrom.
My name is Mark Sundstrom, M-A-R-K-S-U-N-D-S-T-R-O-M. There's been, plenty of talk from the union side of things about safety and quality and, the economy and jobs. So, what this is about the environmental impact statement. So I'm going to take that direction here. We have an environment in the global economy that is in dire need. It's in a free fall. There's CO2, CO, sulfur, mercury that's being emitted. There's pollutants being added to our atmosphere and to our rivers and to our streams. And we have an opportunity to make a change here and to make a transition. Liquefied natural gas and the burning of natural gas rather than the burning of coal will make a substantial difference in the CO2 and CO emissions, the mercury in our streams that falls because it's carried over here by the trade winds. You know, our environment is in a free fall, and I liken it to us, you know, jumping out of an airplane, and you're in a free fall. You know, you need a parachute. You need some plan that's going to slow that fall down and give you time to assess the safety of your landing and where you're going to end up. And if we just continue to plunge to the earth and we don't pull the ripcord, and we don't use that parachute and take the opportunity to have a transition to cleaner fuels and to save our environment, then we're just gonna crash into the ground. You know, we need to pull that ripcord. We can't be so concerned about whether we're gonna wrinkle the suit we're wearing or how neatly that parachute's folded that we don't even do anything. So doing nothing is not an option. I say that, you know, we need to make transitions with solar, with wind, with LNG. We need to take every opportunity we can to clean up our global environment. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Al Shropshire, and then Mike Conaway, and then Willie Myers, and then Susan Evans, and then Robert Lee. And if you could all be lined up and ready to speak, I appreciate that.
Yes, my name is Al Shropshire, S-H-R-O-P-S-H-I-R-E. I'm the business manager of Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 290. I represent 4,300 plumbers, steamfitters, and pipeliners in the state of Oregon. And it's really my job to be their spokesman, but so many of them have got up here and spoke so eloquently tonight, and I'm only going to just make a few of the points because they've made most of the points that I was going to make already, and I thank them for it. All of our members really do care about the environment, and we also care about jobs. We believe that we can have both. We believe that we can have growth and protect our environment if these projects are engineered and constructed properly. Our members, it's been said before tonight that our members, we want the landowners to be treated fairly and for the environment to be protected. The economic boost to Southern Oregon and the increased tax base is in the public interest. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Mike Conaway, M-I-K-E-C-O-N-A-W-A-Y. I came here tonight to talk about the integrity of the pipeline, and the pipeline is the only thing I'm going to talk about. I'm a certified welding inspector on pipeline, and that's about what I've done for the last 50 years. I've welded on pipelines, I've inspected on pipelines now that I got older. And I will tell you that the integrity of the pipeline will be intact. These engineers that build these pipelines and lay them out know the stress. They know how to get rid of the stress by the way they lay the pipeline. The pipeline will have more than 4 feet of cover over it. The welding inspection, these are all real-time x-rays that will be done on the weld. You can tell every minute part of the weld. You can tell if the weld is low or whatever. You can tell that, and it's rejected, and when it's rejected, it's repaired. This is all done before it's coated and laid in the ground. So the integrity of the pipeline will be of its utmost. The inspection of the pipe in the manufacturing process is manufactured under standards that are set 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and always kept up. You'll have a barcode on every piece of pipe. You'll know the heat number. You'll know every detail about that pipe. You'll tell how many pieces of iron was put into the pot that made the plate, to make the roll, and the seam on the pipe will be x-rayed. And any flaws in that, it is cut, sent back to the smelter, melted down again. So the quality of the material going into the pipeline is the best. There's no flaw to it. And I can tell you that when they lay that pipeline and it's down to Coos Bay, the people that they cross the land, they will cross that land, they'll put that land back together again, they'll take all the topsoil off to one side and put all the lower material back into the ditch, put the topsoil back on and make it a park. And the Forest Service and those people will make sure you get the right kind of grass growing on top of the scarf they've left. And in about less than a year, you'll see that it's like a park in there. So, I've laid too many miles of pipeline to not know what I'm talking about. If you have any problem with it, go up to the Portland area and go talk to the farmers up there that was growing trees and how we left their property. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Willie Myers.
Good evening. My name is Willie Myers. I'm the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Columbia Pacific Building and Construction Trades Council, representing more than 15,000 of the most skilled working craftsmen and women in the Northwest, in the world. This project will help stop, will help us recover from one of the worst recessions our country has ever seen. The construction industry saw unemployment rates of higher than 50% in some of the crafts that the building trades, the Columbia Pacific Building Trades represents. A lot of those members lost their homes, lost their families, had to move out of the area, and this is an opportunity to rebuild the southern part of our state in a way that will employ those skilled men and women in the construction industry. We need this project. It's an $8 billion, nearly $8 billion investment into our economy that is going to have a ripple effect that is going to affect many other businesses as well, positive. There was a great example of that in Hillsborough and Gresham, which are about as far apart as Coos Bay and Gold Beach, basically. So there was a construction project, there was an investment of over $7 billion called Intel, Hillsborough, Oregon. And there was a manufacturer of trophies in Gresham, Oregon, that survived the last recession because 60% of their business was because of the Intel project. There was a county away where they were located. Two separate counties, and it was an economic boost that will generate a lot of success in this region. So for that reason, Columbia Pacific Building Trades hopes that we move this process forward, and both these projects, the LNG facility and the pipeline, both did. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next is Susan Evans.
Susan Evans, E-V-A-N-S. Firstly, I am in full agreement with comments and concerns already expressed by Chris Rush of Circa, and I do request a common extension to review the over 5,000-page DEIS document. Just a few other points. 90% of the 300 affected private landowners have said no to the use of their land for this pipeline. The Canadian company Veresen, the Canadian company Veresen, a private company, is a private company. FERC's rural Class 1 standards will save money for this private company while subjecting any and all families, visitors, and area tourists to high risk and low safety precautions. It is therefore vital that the safety standards must be made equal for rural and urban areas. On another point, the instability of the sand dunes on which the LNG terminal would be built is long overdue for an earthquake and tsunami, and as has been expressed by OSU geologists. Another point, just certainly agree with that the DEIS is not dealing adequately, if at all, with wildfire concerns.
Thank you for your comment. I do want to make a point of clarification. There seems to be some more misconceptions out there. The safety standards you just mentioned in terms of classes along a pipeline are not issued by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. They are in fact standards issued by the U.S. Department of Transportation. Next we have Robert Lee, then Robert Canamill or Carrillo, then John Clark, and then Clarence Adams. So please line up so you're ready to speak. Mr. Lee.
I've seen fire and I've seen rain. In 1987, a horrific firestorm went through our community, and I lost my home, all my belongings, and my small business. I also have a lot of good friends that are electrical workers, and I'm familiar with all the information about pipe welding and so forth. But I've seen a lot of fires in the locality where I live. Lightning and inadvertent, inept human carelessness. Now in 2004, never say never, I had a fire, same pathway, human error, went through, nearly burned my house down, burned equipment. So to some of these people that say that it's really safe, yes, I understand how it is, but never say never. So what I'm concerned about is some of the rural safety, because if there was a giga firestorm, because right behind the Bland Mountain 1 and the Bland Mountain 2 to the southeast, there are more spotted owls and cougars. I'm not concerned about whether they get burned or not. I'm more concerned about a firestone of such magnitude that the people in Medford would really be frightened. Because if you got to be 100,000 acres, you're not going to stop this. So I'm concerned about mitigation, at least in the lowest level of assisting the local fire departments and districts, and somewhere into the future. I don't want to be, when I'm 77 in 10 years or 87, I don't want to be stamping out fires like beyond Michael Flatley of Lord of the Dance, which I put into shame, or running faster than Ichiro at a inside the park home run. I don't want to have to do that again. Now, I'm not really paranoid. I'm just cautious, anxious, with a little bit of smoke-phobic anxiety. But I would like to see more addressing the worst possible case scenario. I don't really think it's going to happen, but if. So I would also like to see an extension. I read PDF documents all the time in neurophysiology and molecular biology, but I found it hard to navigate the 5,000 pages and the different, like you say, the 3 different segments of it. So that's about all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Robert Camarillo.
Good evening. It's Robert Camarillo, C-A-M-A-R-I-L-L-O. And I'm here on behalf of all the members of Iron Workers Local 29, Iron Workers Local 516. We represent about 3,000 throughout the state of Oregon. And even though they're not here tonight, I guarantee they're in favor of this project. We're here to urge you to keep moving this project forward. We're talking about a $7 billion project, not a $7 million. Just imagine the opportunities that this project is going to bring to this area. We probably won't see another project of this magnitude come through this region in our lifetime. You know, when I came in, I pulled in and I talked to one of the casino workers and I asked him, you know, hey, how do you feel about this project being built in this area? And he said, hey, you know, I haven't made up my mind, but if it's going to bring jobs, I think I'm going to support it. He said, is there any chance I can get a job on there? I said, who knows? You know, there's a possibility, but we need to get this job built. You know, we're talking about some of the most highly trained professionals that are going to be out there working on this project. We spend millions annually training our building trades folks. We're not talking about amateurs. You know, it's not right for these people that live in this community to have to travel to Portland, travel to California to go to work, they should be able to work in their communities. You know, they want to come home to their families just the way we do. You know, it's easy for us, we have jobs, but what about these people that don't have the opportunities that you and I have? So, again, just deliver a favorable recommendation and let's get this project built. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. John Clark? And then Clarence, ready to go up afterwards?
If you take it out of the envelope and paperclip, we can move right along. Clark, C-L-A-R-K-E, milepost 60. The first document is an email. The Board of Directors in Douglas County asked the same question that was asked last night. How much gas is going to be delivered? And this is an email that verifies that it's 40 million cubic feet of gas. The second page shows that there is a odorizing station at Clark Branch because it has to be odorized to drop into the domestic market. The next document is a contract between, and it says there, it says it's between Jordan Cove and the County of Coos Bay. It was exercised in 2007 by the date. There's nothing on the next page, but on page 2, there's some highlighted stuff. And sorry, page. It says the interconnection. It's going to connect to the Pacific Connector pipeline. Then it gives a definition of the pipeline, and it says that it's the it goes from the Grand Pass lateral just in the vicinity of Roseburg to Coos Bay, Oregon, and it's the manager of the pipe is Northwest Natural Gas. Then the next line shows it is for a firm transportation of 40 million cubic feet of gas. They're putting 40 million cubic feet of gas in, and they're taking it out and shipping it down via 12-inch piping. So the answer to that question is that there is no gate for the Douglas County because it goes in and it comes out. The other is the contract, to make it a valid contract, shows that Coos Bay got $200,000 to exercise this contract. They get $25,000 a month for this contract, and that when they break ground, they'll get another $200,000. That's about all there is on that. The next is some engineering, and that engineering shows a bridge. And that bridge shows you two pipes on it. One of them is labeled processed gas, the other one is fuel gas. You cannot liquefy odorized gas, so they keep it separate. The next page on there shows a bridge that crosses the wetlands. You'll see the power plant, and it is to the east of where it crosses the bridge. So it gives you an idea that this pipe that they're showing in the diagram is to the west. So the 36-inch pipeline is already, the gas has already gone through the dehydrator and it's on its way to the liquefaction train. The gas in the 12-inch pipeline is coming from the west to the east, and it is the fuel gas that runs the power plant. Next is just some pictures, and those pictures are where that 12-inch pipeline crosses Coos Bay. Out on the north spit, there's a sign that says you are here, and that's what that shows. And it's right there at the end of the pavement. So if you went down and drove that, when the pavement ended, and so if you go to the next picture, and the next picture shows the gas marker, the yellow pipe, and in the background of it, you'll see the back of a sign. The back, the next picture shows what that sign says, and it says the pipeline. Those are mirrored things, one on each side of the entrance to the harbor. So the pipeline, the 12-inch pipeline is already in the ground, it is capped, it has one customer comes off of it with a 4-inch pipe. As soon as they put that gas in, they'll take it out, and part of that, the process should include that 12-inch pipe. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Next is Clarence Adams. After Mr. Adams is Pat Lara, Steve Berger, Liz Matterson. And we'd like everyone to line up behind Mr. Adams so that we can speak quickly. Clarence, the floor is yours.
Clarence Adams, CLARENCE, ADAMS. I represent Landlords United and 3,000 family members who are affected by this pipeline, and I myself am an affected member. Milepost 55.8. These hearings are premature. I believe the reasons for these hearings to be held early in the comment period is because better research, more in-depth comments, oral comments I might add, would be heard by other opponents who could build on it. This also allows the applicants to get a head start on developing counter agreements or arguments for the adverse comments. I suggest hearings later on in this comment period when you withdraw the current DIS for the following reasons. The current DIS is at best an incomplete document. There are no less than 16 items required by FERC to be submitted by the applicants before the end of the comment period. I presume these will be submitted a day before. They include a migratory bird conservation plan, a final spill plan, a spill prevention, containment, and countermeasure plan for non-federal lands, the final mainline lock valve locations with temporary and permanent roads identified, the methodology used for classifying high-quality wetlands, a stream crossing monitoring plan, and a habitat mitigation plan for impacts on non-federal lands. There are also 25 conditions that need to be met before construction begins, including final geotechnical data and liquefaction mitigation methods, seismic stability calculations and design quality control assurance procedures, final wetland mitigation plan, plan to reduce lighting effects on wildlife, a monitoring and adaptive management plan for protection of pinnipeds, consultation with the FFA for safe use and preservation of navigable airspace, and a Jordan Cove emergency response plan. On top of all those, there are at least 26 conditions before final design of the facilities. It appears none of these will be subject to public scrutiny and comment. I recommend FERC follow the NEPA rules if reports to uphold, withdraw this document for one that meets the requirements and allows the full level review.
Thank you for your comments. So the next speakers are Pat Lara, Steve Berger, Liz Matterson, Paige Heron, and then M.A. Hansen. And after Ms. Hansen speaks, we'll take a 5-minute break. Pat?
Pat Lara, L-A-R-A is the last name. I'm with the Boilermakers, Local 242, Portland, Spokane. Where to start? Expert, professional. What's the difference, right? An expert, he's done it more than once. Professional, he does it for a living. That's what I am, a professional. I do this for a living. I'm very passionate about my skill set. One of those skills is welding. Okay? I'm going to be training kids drawn from this area to go out to this facility and put that same passion that I give to them towards that welding that's going to power this job to make you guys comfortable. I guarantee you somebody in this room is going to be affected and is going to prosper from this job because of those very same reasons. This pipeline isn't just a pipeline coming through here, it's a lifeline for this community. I'll give you an example. I stopped in Canyonville and I talked to a lady that has 4 sons. None of them are working. She is not working. She was so excited to hear that there was an opportunity like that in this area. And I handed out 4 business cards, and she's going to be calling me to apply herself into this apprenticeship program. So I urge you guys to kind of think bigger than just a pipeline coming through here. Think of the benefits this is going to bring to your community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker is Steve Berger.
Steve Berger, Stevebeburger. I'm too with Boilermakers Local 242 out of Portland, Spokane. We've got a training center in Portland and one in Spokane. This project's going to bring a lot of jobs. I heard some comments the other evening, about, well, these workers are transient workers. They're going to come in here, they're going to leave. Yes, that's true. A lot of us will leave. But this isn't just going to be providing jobs for this project. There are going to be other infrastructure jobs. I mean, when we're here, we got to go shopping. That entails hiring more people to work at grocery stores. We find gas. That means more people work to provide jobs at gas stations, restaurants, you know. And then when the project's over in 4 years, a lot of the people might decide to stay in this area because they like the area. They like the fishing, they like the dunes, they like the sports, you know. And that's going to rejuvenate the jobs around this area. So I just want to say that this isn't just going to provide temporary jobs for this, but it could provide long-term jobs and more economy to this area. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker is Liz Madison.
My name is Liz Madison, Lizmatteson, and I agree that we need to think bigger and more long-term, but I come from a different angle. The draft EIS does not take into full consideration the public's need for this project, nor address what the significant public benefit of this project would be that would offset all the negative impacts to the forests, the rivers, the streams, and the health and the welfare and the safety of the citizens of Oregon. The draft EIS fails to consider the impact of increased herbicide that will be aerially sprayed to maintain the 230-mile, 90-foot wide corridor. Herbicide that would increase the toxic load on our watersheds, and that's a long-term impact, impacting the health of our citizens, the Oregon citizens. And a lot of people don't connect the dots to why there's so much cancer. I personally believe there's a lot of cancer because of the toxins in our environment, and herbicide is one, and I would like to not see so much herbicide. If there was a way, if this proposed pipeline is actually built, I would love it if there was a way to maintain the corridor without herbicide. What is the public need to undertake such a project? And that's part of the draft EIS. Page 4/163 states that you need to address the public need. A lot of things have already been, I've crossed out a lot of things that have already been mentioned by Chris Rush and Susie Evans, and Robert Lee Evans pointed out the impact of wildfire in our region. If there was to be a leak, then the resulting explosion would not impact just a few rural citizens, it would impact a large number of rural citizens. And then as far as jobs, I totally support people having jobs in Oregon, and totally support the fine work that I've been hearing people are saying that they do in the unions. But what I've also heard is that there's no benefit to Americans in the higher energy costs that would result due to this proposed project. The gas that would enter the proposed Pacific Connector gas pipeline would all be used for export, with profits going to foreign investors. Exporting natural gas would cause our prices to compete on the world market. So this is the key, that it would raise our natural gas prices by up to potentially 25% and electric bills potentially by 3%, which would threaten U.S. jobs where factories depend on natural gas. The Department of Energy has determined that exporting natural gas could cause up to 1.2 million manufacturing jobs to be lost to overseas factories. So that's kind of a long-term view of the impact of this project on jobs. On the other hand, Jordan Cove project would generate only about 100 permanent full-time jobs for local workers. So there'd be a lot of jobs for people in the next 4 years, and then it would dry up again.
Okay, your time is up, and so we have the next speaker. Thank you for your comments.
One more thing is I also want the comment period to be extended. We need to extend that.
The next speaker is Paige Herring. I'm going to reiterate that we do need everyone to stick to the 3-minute period so that every speaker can speak.
Good evening. My name is Paige Herring, and I'm the son of Selena Herring and Marcus Abram. And my people came to this land a couple generations ago, but I was born in this land, and this is a land that I am responsible to and responsible for. And I'm really grateful to all of you in this room for coming and speaking and being here, representing your families and representing the people that you care for. Because we're the people that need to work together. And regardless of what color shirt you're wearing, I'm grateful to see you. And I'm grateful to you for doing the work that you're doing to try and do the best job that you think you can. And I salute you for that. I live downriver, about a mile downriver from where the proposed pipeline will go under, I believe it's under the South Umpqua River. Therefore I'm affected, though not directly, but directly. It's my hope and my prayer that the people here, that our people will be able to be here for more than just this generation, and more than just the generations that we'll see. And the years of profit, monetary profit, this project will bring will be few. And I don't see the benefit extending beyond that. I see a lot of harm being done. And while there will be monetary profit for a few families, for many thousands of families even, where's that going and where's that going to take us? And how is it going to take us to a model that will live beyond that? I hope that it will be around. But I don't see a lot of signs that say that we will. And so I'm entreating all of you to keep that in mind when you make decisions. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you for your comment. Next is Emily Hansen, and after Ms. Hansen, we're going to take a short break, 5 minutes, and after that, it'll be Anthony Ladd's turn to speak.
Hi, I'm M.A. Hansen. Anyway, I hold a degree in environmental studies and planning. I can write EISs. I agree with everybody here that talked on the EIS. Everything they said is a problem with this, and I don't even want to go into that. The LNG pipeline, now I'm speaking from my environmental studies degree. Liquefied natural gas has been proven to be far more detrimental than coal. Oregon has already passed a law to stop the use of coal in their electricity. We do not like coal here, so I'm not for coal, but LNG gas is more detrimental. I traveled to all 4 of the counties that this pipeline is proposed to go through, and I was at every meeting that FERC put on, that the project managers put on. I asked the project managers, this is to you people who think you're going to get jobs, you're dealing with people that have lied to us time and again. I have been doing this for 8 years, sometimes day and night, fighting this pipeline. It does not go across my 100 acres. It's wrong. I am a concerned citizen. It's wrong. That's why I'm fighting it. I have been told, let's see, I asked the project managers, we made them stand up on stage and answer us all at once. I asked them how many jobs that this pipeline would provide, the pipeline and the terminal I talked would provide for Oregonians, Oregonians who are today Oregonians, not somebody you bring in and make an Oregonian. They were shocked and we looked at each other for quite a while, and they finally come up with the answer, 6 jobs. That's after it's built. Oh yeah, they also said that they would not hire Oregonians to build this pipeline because Oregonians, this is a quote, because Oregonians don't know how to make pipelines, we're bringing in people from Oklahoma. That's what they said. This is the same people you're dealing with, people, and they have told us so many lies over the years. Also, this is going to be a negative job project. It's going to wipe out the fishing industry in Coos Bay. As those ships are in the harbor, they cannot go out to fish. Those ships are in the harbor almost all the time when they said how many are coming in, and they can't go out to fish because the security around those ships is keeping everybody from going out into the bay. And so,
Ms. Hanson, your time is up.
Because it's the biggest terror threat that you can have in your harbor, and that is on record.
So we're going to tell you to thank you for your comments. We're now going to take a short 5-minute break, and then the next speaker after the break is Anthony Ladd.